Welcome to Transformative Truths, quotes for learning, growing, and becoming. I'm Sarah Waldron Brinton.
I'm Wally Goddard.
Just yesterday, it was President Russell M. Nelson's 101st birthday.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I can't.
Of course, he's just still so sharp and has beautiful wisdom to share with us. And I was really excited when a few days ago I saw that Time magazine had a feature by him in which he shares some things with us that, gosh, I would think if I were 101 and I had a chance to share a message with the world, it might be the most important thing to me.
Yes.
And so we thought it might be nice for us to discuss what he had to say.
I think it's a good idea.
I'll get started. We'll take some turns. He begins the article talking about some of the lessons he learned in his career as a heart surgeon and a medical expert. And then he says this: on the occasion of my 101st birthday, I wish to share two truths, lessons that I believe contribute to lasting happiness and peace. First, each of us has inherent worth and dignity. I believe we are all children of the loving Heavenly Father. But no matter your religion or spirituality, recognizing the underlying truth beneath this belief that we all deserve dignity is liberating. It brings emotional, mental, and spiritual equilibrium. The more you embrace it, the more your anxiety and fear about the future will decrease. Life can be terrifying. I have watched many, especially young people, struggle with anxiety about whether they belong or have value. But a heart that knows it is loved and remains focused on its purpose beats with steadiness, confidence, and hope no matter what is happening or not happening in life.
Because he talks about how a heart that knows these things beats with steadiness, and as a heart surgeon, I think he probably sees that as a great metaphor that our hearts function so much better when we're filled with the right nourishment of good, healthy human relationships.
I find it interesting that he's kind of setting this as a foundation. If we understand that each of us has inherent worth and dignity, and that our identity is child of Father in heaven, I mean, everything kind of falls into place after that, right?
Yeah.
Would you like to share his second point?
Yes, that'd be great. Second, love your neighbor and treat them with compassion and respect. A century of experience has taught me this with certainty. Anger never persuades, hostility never heals, and contention never leads to lasting solutions. Too much of today's public discourse, especially online, fosters enmity instead of empathy. Imagine how different our world could be if more of us were peacemakers, building bridges of understanding rather than walls of prejudice, especially with those who might see the world differently than we do. I've seen bitter divisions soften when neighbors choose to listen to one another with respect rather than suspicion. Even small acts like reaching out across the lines of faith, culture, or politics can open doors to healing. There is power in affording others the human dignity that all of God's children deserve.
Wow.
Yeah, powerful.
So first we learn everyone has inherent worth and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And second, we learn there is power in affording others the human dignity that all of God's children deserve. So it comes upon us to recognize that humanity, that divineness in everyone. And Wally, it is so much more fun to be mad sometimes. I just,
Yeah.
you know that feeling when you're just like, oh, I'm right.
Yeah. Outraged.
Yes. And then you get on the phone with your girlfriends or your guy friends or whoever, and you say, "Rah, rah, 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 rah. This happened to me." And they say, "That's no fair." And it gets you riled up, and it's like this punchy, exciting, adrenaline-inducing feeling.
Yeah.
And President Nelson is inviting us to choose a different path, to choose a different feeling. And if you think about a time when you could have gotten upset, but you didn't, isn't that feeling a
Feels
bit
good.
more transcendent?
Yeah. I've heard the saying that you can no more win a war than you can win an earthquake. It just is destruction. Either way is destruction. And so rather than going to war against each other, what if we declared peace? What if we chose to listen and understand? What if in whatever the challenges of life, at school or at work or at home, we said, I'm going to work to get along with people and understand them and their perspective.
That's so true. And there's another saying that hurtful people are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
I find that's true from throughout the span of life. You know that I have young children.
Yes.
And I find that when they're in a bad mood, it's because they're missing something that they need. And they might say that here's a good line from yesterday. I have the worst life, one of
Oh,
my children
no.
said. And I'm going, I just bought you Cheetos. Your life is amazing. But someone who has Cheetos might not be getting the nourishment they need.
Yeah, maybe it's friendship that's really missing, or safety or peace or something else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something that, just empty
Yeah.
calories can't bring you. And so I found that when I sat down with this child and we talked about what they were going through, and I actually scheduled some time alone with them to just connect. Wow, they went to bed the happiest kid on earth. And do you know what they said before bed? This was the best day of my life.
Best day ever.
And I said, see how maybe something earlier happened that you didn't like, but we could still make it the best day. And it seems really simple from the eyes of a preschooler, but I think grown-ups behave in much the same way. And when we're saying callous, even crude remarks online, I wonder what pain might be behind that for that person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's look at the next paragraph, shall we?
Let's do it.
This work begins at home. At a time when loneliness and isolation are rising around the world, families, though never perfect, remain one of life's strongest sources of stability and meaning. My own experience has taught me that fidelity, forgiveness, and faithfulness within families yield deep, enduring peace. Strong families help us extend kindness outward, reinforcing communities and societies as well.
Wally, you might know something about this topic.
I love this topic. Isn't it great? The idea that when within our families we learn peace, we learn understanding, we learn patience, we learn to feel safe. In fact, if we were just take a shallow dive into parenting, so often we think that strong correction is what helps children change their behavior. And a lot of the time, what's needed is simply a restoration of safety. A child who's upset and confused and frustrated needs to feel like the world is a safe place. And that's usually best delivered by a loving family member who takes them in their arms and says, I love you. You're safe. We will take care of you. It's a lot better than just a strong lecture or stern punishment.
Wow. I mean, just imagining Heavenly Father giving me a hug
Oh,
after I've done something real dumb. I really think that's what he'd do.
Yeah.
And it's tempting to think, oh boy, I sinned again. He's going to be so mad at me. But the more I get to know Heavenly Father and Jesus, the more I realize, wow, that compassion is what drives everything. And I just want to harness that in my own family. And Wally, after a lifetime of studying families in your professional career, is your family perfect?
No, well, one family member is my wife.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but
Nancy,
the rest.
yeah.
Yeah, Nancy's very good at being patient. And yet each of us is in a journey of learning to be more like God. And we learn that best by coming to him and being embraced by him.
I love that. And so, as President Nelson says here, even though our families are never perfect, it's one of life's strongest sources of stability and meaning.
Yes.
And so, boy, we are so fortunate to have these units where we can practice and learn and grow and share.
Yes.
And hopefully bring that love and kindness that is sometimes hard to learn.
Yes.
Out into the world with us. I'll finish out President Nelson's thoughts here. He says, my faith teaches me that over 2 millennia ago, Jesus Christ preached these same laws of happiness, to love God and to love your neighbor. After 101 years, I can say that these are not abstract theological ideas. They are practical wisdom. They are what have sustained me through loss and triumph, uncertainty, peace, war, and healing. If we embrace these eternal truths, honoring our own worth, treating others with dignity, and nurturing our families, our lives, and our world will be steadier and more joyful. That is my birthday wish for all of us.
Wow. What a wish.
It's amazing.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful wish.
And it all comes back to those first two great commandments. Love God, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for us to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Because so-and-so cut me off in traffic. They shouldn't have done that. But man, we could just love them instead.
So the application piece, there are a lot of challenges there, aren't there, Sarah?
There are.
But you've named the core of it, which is to love God and to love those around us, to carry his message of love and goodness to the lives of all those we meet.
And I wonder if this week we just take this sort of core idea of loving kindness, of peacemaking, and maybe apply it like a filter. And we say, okay, here's a situation in front of me, and let's put on my peacemaking glasses and look at the situation again before we act.
Yes, good idea.
Thanks so much for discussing this with me today,
Yeah,
Wally.
thank you for bringing this, Sarah.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. We hope that you gleaned something that you can apply in your own life and that you can remember that these basic truths, that you're loved and important. And we hope you have a blessed week.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye.
We hope that some of the quotes we share are meaningful to you and something maybe you'd like to add to your personal collection. If so, go to drwally.com and look under Transformative Truths podcast, and all the quotes as we broadcast them will be available to you to cut and paste into your collection.